it's Jen back with tea and cookies for two, and this is the very last project in our series. I can't even believe it's been a whole year since we've been doing this. Of course, these darling little two smaller placemats, the whole idea, making some cookies. We had free cookie recipes available for you, sour cream sugar cookies, shortbread cookies, and maybe some cookies of your own. So just like we've been doing, we're gonna focus on our block. And of course, the assembly is the same. Of course, just different fabrics, but that approach is the same. So if you're just now finding us, welcome to Shabby Fabrics. Just subscribe. You're going to be so happy you did. Let your friends know too. We have so much creative content that you can go back and watch, and much more coming. And be sure to hit the bell, and that way you'll be the first to know when a new video is released. So as I said, our kit produces two of these, and it's a self-binding technique where the back is kind of all just incorporated. So you don't have to make traditional binding. It's a nice break for those of us that don't generally enjoy making traditional binding. So kits, of course, are the way to go. You'll get all of your full color instructions as well as the fabric to make two of these. And this time we could not resist adding a beautiful glittery snowflake that is already pre-fused and laser cut. So just a lovely thing to be able to have that in your kit. So of course, in January, the coldest month of the year for us here in North Idaho, we're drinking a lot of hot cider, hot cocoa, hot coffee. And so that is what is now featured for this month. And of course, as that steam comes up from that hot drink, we couldn't resist putting that into a beautiful red heart. So we're just going to dive right into that and show you really how this goes together. All, of course, precise piecing. So if it's been a while since you've replaced the blade in your rotary cutter, you might want to think about doing that. Those nice clean cuts will be important. And that, of course, is after you've added a nice sizing to your fabric, giving it a good press so it's ready and prepared to be cut with some nice clean cuts and a fresh blade. So let's just focus real quick on the heart. That one really has some small pieces to it. We definitely have some of our fabric sticker just to help us because some of the cuts are very similar. So we're just starting right here. And you've now, after month 12, you've seen me do this so many times of a sew and flip technique, just placing this in the corner, sewing on that drawn line, and pressing to the outside. And that's the left half here of our heart. We repeat the same thing on the opposite side. And the only difference is here that we're not going to also press to the outside because we won't get interlocking seams. So what we'll do instead is we're actually going to be pressing this. So we're pressing toward the red, and that's not intuitive, but we have learned that every single time we can have an interlocking seam, one seam's going this way and one seam's going the opposite, we are much more likely to hit that precise 1/4 inch that we're all really after, right? We all want that same thing. Well, this is how you achieve it. So now you can see that as we put those two halves together, and hopefully you can see that from above, this seam is going down toward the red. This seam is going up, and you can see now there's a beautiful lock right there. Put a pin, so a very accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that's going to be pretty important throughout this one. And you can, of course, use the 1/4 inch seam tape, diagonal seam tape, whatever that aid is, if you need one, to help you really just dial that in until you have your two halves, and we simply press that open. So we've got this middle portion thus far. And don't you love how our pattern in full color really steps you through this process? So same idea, drawing the line, sewing corner to corner, and now we're going to press both times to the outside, and we can trim. On the bottom portion, what we did down here is we just have our letter D, one in this corner, sew on the line, sew and flip, and we do the same thing on the opposite side. And I'm just going to go ahead and press that to the outside and trim. So difficult? No. Time consuming? Yes. And with some good pressing techniques, especially in that center seam, that center portion we just did, will help bring all of that point together just beautifully. Once you have that, again, we'll just trim away our excess fabric there and set that aside for now. Don't we wish that real quilting was that fast, right, in real life? No, it takes a little bit of time, but enjoy the journey, right? That's why we do this. Sometimes my husband says, why are you sewing so fast? He reminds me, slow down, enjoying the journey. I'm like, I have so many projects I want to do. I want to get to all of them. Okay, so that's this portion here. And you can see on the left and right, we're just going to be adding some sections here. And then for the next portion, just above that, there's a small little section we'll add. And of course, our instructions are going to be guiding us into pressing that upward. Then come the sides. You can see here, we take you through each and every step. Pressing this right side together, pressing to the outside. So easy peasy. That's this upper portion. So we've got this part done, and you can see this starts off with a really big rectangle. Same thing, sew and flip. Notice a pattern. We're doing the same things over and over again. Squares in the corner, press, sew, press. And notice we sewed this upper portion to our cup here. This is all becomes a unit once this is all sewn together, and that's this portion. As we move on, then I'll just bring this whole section out so we can just talk our way through this one. If you've been with us for 12 months, you already know this. We've been down this road, right? It's just different shapes, different sizes, but the same technique. We started here. We simply added a rectangle to the top there. Then we added our square, top and bottom, sew on the diagonal, flip and trim. We added our upper portion and our lower portion. And then of course we have a long skinny piece that we're adding to the end here, pressing to the outside. Of course, we have all these seams. We're definitely going to be pressing that way. And now all of that is being sewn to the right of that. And of course, you're repeating that for the second mug. Now, what you could do, and I'd recommend you actually wait to put the whole project together, where you're now moving on to this portion where you have your beautiful snowflake fabric. You have your prefuse and laser cut scallops also included in your kit. Again, to release that paper, just give a good crease there and the paper will release, placing that onto that background snowflake print. And you could stitch that down now if you'd like to go ahead and do that. Of course, we're going to attach our mug and this portion together. Repeat that for the second one. And that's when the self-binding technique comes into play. We love that technique. So cool. Get to skip traditional binding. Then and only then, once that's all put together, and by the way, we have just a little bit of fusible fleece in there, or you could use batting as you prefer. Then and only then do we come back, and that's when we went ahead and applied our beautiful snowflake, as well as did our top stitching, and that's the 3-piece thread set that we have there. So that way, when we flip this over, it's quilted, and hopefully you can see that from above. This kind of just glues everything all together, and we love that. Gives it a more embossed look. So 12 months, I cannot believe that I'm staring at this many projects when I first had the idea of tea and cookies. And why did that come? Because we had to spend so much time apart during COVID that we had to make up those conversations we didn't get to have face-to-face, right? We were relying on texting and FaceTime and phone calls, but there's nothing that replaces that face-to-face relationship and just catching up. So we hope that you have enjoyed this time together. And as always, you know, a new series or series are on the heels of this. So be sure to keep opening those emails. And of course, again, subscribe, hit the bell, and that way you'll be the first to know about Shabby Fabrics' new videos. Head to the website now to grab your kit, any other kits you might need. And again, thank you for joining me on this series. See you soon.